Hidden True Crime has several major updates to bring you on the investigation into the alleged kidnapping of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro, the case we've been following from the beginning. So sit tight. We have everything you need to know as this case continues to unfold in the most shocking and confusing of ways. So, a quick recap where we last left off. 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro was reported missing after his mother, Rebecca, claimed she was at a football practice for Emmanuel's sibling when she left with Emmanuel to buy a mouth guard. She then claimed she was attacked in the Big Five parking lot in Yucaipa, California on August 14th, 2025. The story told by Rebecca was terrifying. An attack by a stranger left her unconscious and with a black eye, followed by Emmanuel being abducted. But questions started piling up almost immediately. Those online noticed odd details in the Harrow's media interviews. Rumors swirled about whether Emmanuel was even at the football practice that night, as his parents claimed, and Rebecca's account of security cameras or lack of them didn't quite add up. On top of that, Emmanuel's father, Jake, has a troubling history, to say the least, of child abuse and a current probation violation, fueling public suspicion. At the end of my last episode about this case, we left off with the fact that investigators had already confronted Rebecca about inconsistencies in her story, and law enforcement announced they could not rule out foul play. But just 48 hours later, we have so many new details. I want to start by mentioning that there are a lot of reporters and content creators who have been covering this case closely, right there on the ground in Yucaipa. One of the most active has been FNN on the Tierra, hosted by Ahmed Bellozo. He's been providing frequent on-scene updates as new details come in. And one of the biggest questions people have involves Rebecca's black eye, the same one she claims came from the attack and alleged abduction. Ahmed shared something pretty interesting. On Monday, he reported that employees at the Waterman Discount Mall claimed that they have surveillance footage showing Rebecca shopping there on August 3rd. And according to them, she already had that black eye at that time.
Today's episode has been brought to you by the letter W. The Waterman Discount Mall has entered the chat. The reason why is because the Waterman now ties into the disappearance of little Emmanuel Haro. Any of the cameras here can be brought back to August 3rd, and you will see Rebecca and Jake come into the Waterman on the 3rd, homie, and she already had that shiner, and it was like this, Holmes, like she had just got a putazo by whoever did it to her, quite possibly did it to little Emmanuel too, homie. I have a constituent who has a business in here who has a video because she did a transaction at the Waterman Discount Mall, homie, on August 3rd. I had the video, her eye like this, homie, but unfortunately, my constituent is in Miami until the 26th on business, so he cannot come back home, but nonetheless, the Waterman has cameras throughout. And so if anybody wanted to get the video from the Waterman of August 3rd, Emmanuel's mother and father were here on the tira, homie. And so I can't get it to the 26th, homie, but that doesn't mean that we ain't doing what we can to bring justice to life for little Emmanuel, homie.
Remember, the alleged kidnapping happened on August 14th, meaning that would be 11 days before the alleged kidnapping. And at this point, it's not clear whether detectives have actually collected that footage or if it is just a claim that hasn't been verified. And I want to clearly state we haven't been able to verify this yet. But if the video exists and if it really does show Rebecca was injured before the alleged attack, then that detail alone could completely shift how investigators look at her story, because it would mean one of the key elements in her version of events doesn't add up. And when one detail starts to unravel, people naturally start questioning the other details. Adding to the speculation, there have also been some claims popping up on social media from people who say they were working at Big Five at the time of the alleged incident. Now, I want to be clear, these accounts have also not been officially confirmed, but these claims have been shared widely and are fueling a lot of discussion online. One user who says they're an employee posted, quote, "She had a black eye prior to the alleged incident. A manager did her DV duty of care and asked her if she was okay, and she happily said she walked into a wall and had a laugh. Also, no baby with her," end quote. And that wasn't the only comment. Another person claiming to work at Big Five added, quote, "Big Five employee here. She did not have a baby on the day of the alleged abduction. I was there. Cops just finished interviewing us all and told us not to share any info to the public. And I told them, no way. They have a right to know this woman has lied about having a baby with her when she didn't," end quote. If what these employees are saying is true, it raises even more questions. Not only would Rebecca's story about how she got the black eye fall apart, but the entire basis of this alleged abduction, that she was targeted while with her baby, would be thrown into doubt. Another point that's been getting a lot of attention comes from the Emmanuel Facebook group. Several people there have commented that no one remembers seeing baby Emmanuel at the football field on the night Jake and Rebecca's other kids had practice. And that detail alone has fueled more speculation. If Emmanuel wasn't ever actually there in the first place, then where was he? Had something already happened to him before the practice? And while we're talking about the Facebook group, something else caught my eye today that I thought was worth mentioning. So now I know that people have mixed feelings about AI. I'm one of them. But one member of the group actually used Chat GPT to analyze Rebecca's black eye from photos that have been circulating. And the results were interesting. According to the analysis, the Chat GPT analysis, and keep in mind, this isn't medical advice, just a color comparison. The bruise under Rebecca's eye showed a muted purplish brown shade. That color typically sits somewhere between the purple blue stage you'd see around days 1 to 3, and the brown or fading stage you'd expect closer to days 10 to 14, according to ChatGPT. In other words, the bruise didn't look brand new, but it also isn't at the very end of healing. ChatGPT estimated the bruise was likely about 5 to 9 days old at the time the photo was taken. And if that's accurate, then it would suggest Rebecca's injury may have happened days before the alleged attack, which, once again, lines up with what those store employees claimed about her allegedly showing up with the black eye already visible. And even though I'm sharing this, again, I'm not saying that AI is the end all be all, and it's certainly not always correct. I am just pointing out this because I find it an interesting thing that came up online during my research today. And while I am an AI skeptic myself, many of our viewers do have backgrounds in the medical field. And I have now read numerous comments from all of you, from viewers stating that in their experience, Rebecca's black eye did not look like a fresh black eye. And so if that's the case, if businesses can verify that Rebecca already had a black eye before the alleged attack, it adds yet another layer of inconsistency to her story. And I just want to thank all of you for what you have shared in our comments and in emails to us, and sharing your expertise, because it has helped us bring all of these details together to share what we have been learning as we look for baby Emmanuel. And one thing we also dug into in our very first video was Rebecca's claim that there were no surveillance cameras in the Big Five parking lot. And as far as we know now, that part may actually be true. Rebecca's right. But that doesn't mean there weren't cameras nearby. In fact, several businesses in the area, as well as intersections, are equipped with cameras. And we pointed this out. I showed you on Google Earth these cameras. And we now know that police have already confiscated footage from at least one of those businesses. Ahmed with FNN on the Tira took things a step further. He went directly to some of the businesses across the street from Big Five and asked them directly about their cameras. At a local Mexican restaurant, one employee told Ahmed that yes, their cameras do point toward the parking lot. The employee hadn't been able to view the footage personally, but confirmed that police had already taken it into their possession.
on the tira. Why are there no cameras? So there's one camera here and there's one camera here. Any cameras facing across the street?
Yes.
Do you have cameras?
Yeah, we do.
Do you have video of the day?
Actually, the police already come and get all the information of the videos.
So they took it.
They took it already.
Do you have a copy?
Excuse me?
Do you have a copy?
No, I don't have a copy because I tried to download. When they came here, I tried to download it. But it took me 6 hours because I had to record that.
Ahmed also checked with another business nearby, Marlene's Jewelry, which sits right next to Big Five. And according to staff there, their surveillance has a clear angle of the spot where Rebecca said she was parked. And here's the kicker. They claim their video shows no one ever approaching Rebecca's vehicle. If that footage is accurate, and we're only going to know once law enforcement decides to share publicly and release some of this, if that footage is accurate, it would be a major blow to Rebecca's story because it doesn't just challenge a detail, it undermines the central event she claims happened in that parking lot. On Monday evening, several outlets reported that there was a media stakeout outside the Haro residence in Cabazon, which is about a 26-minute drive from Yucaipa. This came right after San Bernardino police released a statement updating the public on where the investigation stands. And this statement, it's important, and it reads, quote, "The investigation into the disappearance of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro is continuing. During the last few days, investigators have conducted extensive searches in Yucaipa and Cabazon, looking for Emmanuel and any evidence that might lead to his location and the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. Investigators have served several search warrants at the Haro home and utilized canines to aid in the investigation. Additionally, a large amount of surveillance video has been obtained from areas of interest and are being reviewed," end quote. So what do we learn from this statement? A lot. First, the Haro home has now been searched, and not just once. Authorities have gone back multiple times, this time with warrants in hand and dogs trained to sniff out evidence. They've also collected what they describe as a large amount of video from different locations, which is now being reviewed, seeming to confirm what Ahmed has also pointed out, that businesses have given their surveillance. Adding to that, one local reporter who claims to have insider information has said that Rebecca and Jake had security cameras at their house. But here's the suspicious part. That same source alleges that footage from those cameras was recently deleted. Now, in most cases, deleted home security video doesn't just disappear forever. A lot of these systems automatically back up to the cloud, which means investigators could still recover whatever was erased, possibly, hopefully. And if that turns out to be true, then the real question becomes, what exactly was on that footage and why would anyone try to get rid of it? In our last video, we also touched on some troubling charges from Jake Haro's past. Well, now we've uncovered even more details, and honestly, they make the situation look even worse. Back in Riverside County, Jake Haro, along with a woman identified as his ex-wife, Vanessa Haro, also known by the name Vanessa Avina, faced charges of willful cruelty. This case dates back to October of 2018 when the 10-week-old baby girl was rushed to Hemet Valley Hospital. She was in critical condition, and doctors discovered both fresh as well as injuries that were healing. According to an affidavit written by a Hemet police officer, the infant was later transferred to Loma Linda University Medical Center, where doctors found a devastating list of injuries: an acute rib fracture, 6 ribs in the process of healing, a fractured skull, bleeding on the brain, swelling around the neck, and even a healing fracture in her leg. In the words of one physician, the combination of these injuries in a non-mobile infant with no believable explanation of trauma was consistent with abusive head trauma, abuse, and neglect. So how did investigators believe this happened? According to the affidavit, Vanessa told police that on October 12th, she picked Jake up from work, dropped him at home, and then drove to Beaumont to collect her older daughter from school. And when she returned about an hour later, she tried to nurse the baby, but the infant refused to feed. And that's when she decided to take the baby to the hospital. Jake, on the other hand, told a different story. He claimed that after Vanessa dropped him off, he took the baby's temperature, which he said was around 99 to 100 degrees, and then bathed her. During that bath, Jake admitted he accidentally dropped the baby chest first onto the divider of a twin sink, but insisted he did not notice any signs of injury. Later that night, according to Jake, Vanessa woke him up and asked him to feel the baby's back. He said he felt something crackle, but told officers he hadn't noticed anything unusual when bathing her earlier. Vanessa later stopped answering questions, telling investigators she wanted an attorney. And as detectives dug deeper, another disturbing detail came to light. Jake's sister reportedly opened his iPad browser and discovered a search history entry for, quote, how to feed a baby with broken ribs, end quote. That search was logged before the baby was even taken to the hospital. Jake denied making the search himself. Eventually, Jake pointed the blame at Vanessa, his ex-wife, but in October of 2021, both Jake and Vanessa were formally charged with willful cruelty. By June of 2023, they each pleaded guilty. Jake Haro was sentenced to 180 days in a sheriff's work release program, given a suspended 4-year prison sentence, and ordered to complete a abuser treatment program. Vanessa was sentenced to 120 days in work release and was also ordered to take part in the same treatment program. And it doesn't stop there. Records show that shortly after the baby was hospitalized, Jake filed for a domestic violence restraining order against Vanessa. That request was later dismissed. Now, Jake finds himself facing even more legal trouble. He's due back in court on September 2nd on a separate charge of being a felon or addict in possession of a firearm. So that really raises the question. If Jake was involved in something like this before, does that mean he could be capable of harming baby Emmanuel as well? It's a difficult thought to sit with. His prior conviction shows he's already been connected to serious harm against a child, a baby, no less. And that's not something you can just dismiss. As more information surfaces about the Haro family, it's becoming evident that the legal troubles don't just involve Jake. Rebecca's side of the family has also faced serious issues, specifically her brother. Yeah, Rebecca's brother, James, is currently in prison after being convicted of first-degree murder. Back in 2017, James murdered his 27-year-old girlfriend, Jaylyn Amanda Keith. Prosecutors argued that James got Jaylyn unconscious, put her in the bathtub before shooting her once in the forehead while hiding behind the shower curtain to avoid the blood splatter. He then called 911 saying Jaylyn had done that to herself while he was asleep. James' version of the events that morning of the shooting was that he woke up to a strange popping noise, something he thought might have been coming from the air conditioner. According to him, it took somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes of searching before he finally found Jaylyn. But during the trial, the prosecution pushed back. The apartment was tiny, about 430 square feet, and from the couple's bed, the bathroom was in plain view. How could it have possibly taken James that long? And then there was the detail prosecutors didn't want the jury to forget. James wasn't just any guy fumbling in confusion. He was described as a gun enthusiast, someone who regularly went shooting. And their relationship had been failing. James' argument was that his alcoholism and a medical condition that Jaylyn had led her to harming herself. But the thing is, there were documented incidences prior to Jaylyn's death that showed there was a history of violence and alcohol abuse in this relationship. Yeah, Rebecca's brother, James. And on the morning of the shooting, James told law enforcement that Jaylyn wasn't struggling with suicidal thoughts. No, she wasn't, according to James. And to top it off, just one day before she was killed, she had texted her family that James had gone psycho on her, smashing his phone and screaming at her. And she even told a friend at one point that James had pulled his pistol out of the safe, which scared her. After her death, it took 7 months before James was arrested. After he was found guilty, he was sentenced to 50 years to life. According to NBC Palm Springs, at the sentencing, quote, James told the court that he felt at fault for only letting his alcoholism plague their relationship and drive him from understanding underlying issues Jaylynn was suffering from, end quote. Well, after the conviction, James' family continued to advocate for his innocence, saying that during the trial, evidence showing that it was a self-inflicted injury was minimized and that the signs of depression, which led her down that route, were simply ignored by her family. There is even a Facebook group dedicated to James's innocence. Yes, Rebecca's brother James has a Facebook group dedicated to his innocence, allegedly run by James and Rebecca's own mom. And there is one specific post from 2018 that has people outraged. I'm going to read it here. Here we go. It reads, quote, Jaylynn suffered from a chronic condition that made it too painful for her to have intercourse. In fact, in all of their almost 5 years together, James and Jaylynn only had intercourse one time. James accepted Jaylynn's condition, saying there were other ways they could engage in sexual intimacy. According to Jaylynn's Kaiser physician, Jaylynn was treated for the condition to reduce pain and discomfort, and the condition was under control. However, the treatment never improved the condition to a degree where she could tolerate intercourse. Jaylynn expressed concern that she would never be able to conceive and could not provide a mate with children. The effects of Jaylynn's condition was not discussed at trial beyond the physician's report. The doubts Jaylynn must have had that a partner other than James would tolerate, let alone accept, such sexual dysfunction, that she must have had serious doubts about her romantic possibilities and establishing another intimate relationship, was never brought up at the trial. The only comments made were that the condition was under control and Jaylynn was never depressed about it. End quote. Many people, including me, feel this post is highly insensitive and highly inappropriate to post online about someone who is no longer alive and can defend themselves. And another thing that people have pointed out about Rebecca's family, it seems as if their family actually has recently faced a tragedy, with her brother's son, Rebecca's brother's son, Charlie, losing his life to a fentanyl overdose. After his death, a GoFundMe was made that read, quote, our hearts are broken after sudden loss of our beloved son, grandson, father, and friend to the silent epidemic claiming too many lives, fentanyl. We hope to honor his memory and help others see the dangers before it's too late. Any support toward burial costs is deeply appreciated, end quote. There was just under $4,000 raised, and $300 of those dollars, it shows that it was given by Jake Haro himself 24 days ago. The comment with this donation reads, quote, there's no words to express how deeply sorry I am for your loss of your son. We are here for you, Rebecca and Jake Haro, end quote. In a comment written 2 weeks ago on a shared Facebook post about Rebecca's nephew, Charlie, Rebecca's mother wrote, quote, my handsome grandson, my baby, you left such a void in my life. My heart is broken. So much pain, going crazy. I just can't believe God took you from me. This is the worst thing. I lost my mom and sister and brother, but this is just so hard to see your dad so broken and know that there is nothing I can say because I am just broken, my baby. Rest easy until we get together again. Love you, my baby, Charlie, end quote. As the investigation continues, Rebecca and Jake have reportedly retained attorney Vincent Hughes to represent them. He was seen at their home tonight, which is Monday night, in Cabazon.
And within the past hour, we did get more information from the Riverside County DA's office on that 2018 felony abuse charge for Jake Haro right behind me. When I went up to the door and talked to him, he said right now he's dismayed. His child is missing. People are coming up to the property. His lawyer, Vince Hughes, tells me that 2018 charge is being misrepresented, as well as Jake's cooperation with police. We're going to continue to push for more answers, as what's at the forefront is where is Emmanuel Haro.
So where do things stand now? Well, according to sources posted online, even just tonight, sheriff's deputies were apparently back at the Haro home, sent on behalf of Child Protective Services, although the Haros seemingly weren't there. So for now, we continue to wait and we continue to hope that baby Emmanuel is found safe. And if the worst case scenario is true, and genuinely, I am very afraid of the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario meaning he's not alive. We wait and we hope that justice will be served. And Hidden True Crime will be here to keep you updated every step of the way.